At night, something small slips into the warm hush of sleeping herds and drinks without waking them. This is not myth. It's the vampire bat, a night parasite that heat hunts sleeping animals with surgical stealth. Imagine teeth so precise they score skin like a surgeon's scalpel, a tongue that licks a wound open, and a saliva that prevents clotting. This is the brutal expertise of Desmodontinae, the true blood feeders of the dark. Our question is simple and chilling. How does a tiny winged mammal detect warm blood beneath fleece, cut flesh painlessly, and vanish before its prey even stirs? Tonight, we trace that methodical violence. You will see anatomy tailored for stealth, senses tuned to thermal whispers, and behaviors that read like surgical technique. We follow every adaptation that makes the vampire bat a perfected night parasite. This is a story of small predators and big consequences, disease transmission, human fear, ecological balance. But first, we must meet the instrument of this predation, the bat's body itself. Call them vampires, and they will disappoint Hollywood. Call them precision hunters, and you begin to look with dread at every sleeping animal. Their brutality is efficient, surgical, almost clinical. The phrase heat hunts is literal. These bats map temperature on the move, locating exposed skin or thin fur like a living infrared. That sense is the key to their silent raids. All night they prowl in darkness, tiny engines of hunger. Their story combines grotesque intimacy with biological brilliance, a predator that drinks while its victim dreams. Tonight's journey will explain anatomy, nervous systems, hunting tactics, social life, reproduction, and the ecological ripple caused by this nightly bloodletting. Prepare for close, clinical terror. We start small: teeth, tongue, claws, and a surgical diet. Each element is honed to achieve the vampire bat's central talent: to take blood without waking its quarry. Vampire bats are compact predators with muscular chests and wings built for precise control, not speed. They land on prey, walk, and position themselves using limbs that double as hands. Their incisors are thin and razor-sharp, not for tearing flesh, but for nicking it. Those small cuts minimize pain and trauma, allowing a slow, steady flow of blood rather than a violent struggle. The tongue is an instrument of delicacy. Grooves and specialized muscles siphon blood while the bat laps. Saliva contains anticoagulants so efficient, blood never clots during the feeding. One anticoagulant, draculin, prevents clotting at the wound site. It's a biochemical scalpel that keeps blood flowing and allows the bat to feed long enough to be satisfied. Their digestive system is specialized for a liquid diet, fast absorption, minimal waste. After feeding, their weight increases dramatically, a dangerous boon that changes flight and social behavior. Eyes are relatively small. Instead, they rely on tactile and thermal sensors. Noseleaf and facial grooves channel sensory information, turning the bat's head into a living heat map. Echolocation remains crucial for navigation, but for hunting sleeping mammals, they augment sonar with infrared-like thermal detection. Tiny temperature differentials reveal exposed skin and open wounds. Recent studies show specialized receptors in the nose and facial region respond to heat. These cells fire like beacons when they pass over a warm patch of skin, guiding the bat's bite. The nervous system coordinates extreme delicacy. Fine motor neurons control jaw movement, while sensory feedback ensures the bite avoids nerves that would wake the host. A terrifyingly precise choreography. Muscle fibers in the jaws are fast and controlled, optimized for quick, superficial cuts. They trade brute force for finesse, shaping a minor wound into a steady faucet of blood. Their saliva is a cocktail: anticoagulants, vasodilators, and enzymes that numb local tissue. Pain is blunted, blood flows, and the prey rarely registers the intrusion in time to react. Vampire bats have thermoreceptors tuned to temperature gradients. They don't need to see an animal's outline. They detect the slightest heat signature of exposed skin or thin hide. On sensory maps in their brain, thermal and tactile information converges rapidly. The result? A single, integrated command to land, orient, and make the surgical cut with minimal fuss. Their wings are silent because the flight stroke is low, amplitude, and controlled. Sound is deadly. Stealth is life. Every muscle contraction is designed to avoid rustle, clatter, or alerting breath. They can walk awkwardly on the ground, using forelimbs as hands. This ability to move across fur without taking off reduces detection and allows precise placement of that first critical bite. Vampire bats possess biomechanics that balance flight and feeding. After a heavy meal, their wing loading changes. They prefer to rest, digest, and socialize, making feeding cycles communal events. Their kidneys handle concentrated protein diets poorly, so they must process liquid quickly. That urgency shapes nightly routines: feed, warm up, and offload in roosts before the sun forces them underground. Biochemistry shows adaptations to blood's iron load. Their livers and blood handling systems tolerate infections and heavy metals that would cripple other mammals, a quiet resilience under brutal diet pressure. Genetic studies reveal convergence. Unrelated species of vampires evolve similar anticoagulants and thermal sensors. Evolution keeps returning to the same tools to solve the problem of nocturnal blood feeding. Even their social brain shows specialization. Regions that process social memory and reciprocity are enlarged, because surviving as a vampire bat is as much about allies as it is about stealth. They evolved from insectivorous ancestors. The shift to sanguivory required radical dietary and sensory redesigns. Teeth, tongue, glands, and neural circuits rewired for liquid predation. Desmodontinae is a subfamily name that groups species specialized in blood. It's a taxonomic nod to a lifestyle of precision and dependency, predators that cannot afford mistakes. Their metabolisms run hot and fast. Overnight, they must fuel constant muscle use and rapid healing from bites and minor injuries acquired while hunting. Survival is a physiological tightrope. At the microscopic level, wound healing in their prey differs. Anticoagulants and saliva modulate local immune responses. The bat's chemistry buys time, reducing swelling and masking intervention cues. All these traits answer one core question: how can a blood specialist find warm skin, cut without alarm, and drink elsewhere's life subtly? The answer is anatomy, sculpted by ruthless necessity. Hunting begins with reconnaissance. A bat circles quietly, pinging with echolocation, then sweeps over herds, letting thermal receptors find the thinnest spots, the most accessible veins under skin. They prefer sleeping animals: cattle, birds, horses, sometimes humans. The predator selects sites with minimal hair, soft skin, or exposed mucous membranes, easy entry points for a precise incision. Landing is deliberate. Wings fold into silent clamps, feet hook fur, and forelimbs prod for space. The bat tests for reactions before biting. Even a twitch can abort the attempt. The bite itself is quick and shallow. incisors, nick, tongue laps, anticoagulant works. The bat rarely drinks to death. It takes enough to survive and flies away while the prey sleeps unaware. Feeding sessions can last 20 minutes or longer. The predator monitors pressure and blood flow, detaching before the wound provokes pain or an immune response that might rouse the host. Sometimes they feed on birds in trees, sometimes on cattle in paddocks. Their hunting methods adapt to environment: perching, walking, or gliding, always minimizing noise and movement. Vampire bats are opportunists. They memorize grazing schedules and human routines, returning to reliable hosts night after night. Memory is survival. Predictability is profit for a blood specialist. They rarely attack alone. Some species hunt in pairs or small groups to divide risk, with lookouts and social cues that coordinate feeding and make raids more efficient. Their stealth is behavioral too: grooming, spreading scents, and approach angles that avoid startling. A bat's behavior is a study in minimizing sensory input to its target, a predator of silence. They can chew clothing or leather to reach skin. In human environments, they exploit small errors. An open door, thin fabric, or unsupervised livestock become invitations for a blood meal. When discovered, escape is swift. Lightweight bodies and precise flight allow a fast getaway. The bat's priority is not killing, but feeding quietly and returning to the safety of the roost. They also use social learning. Young bats watch older hunters learn host habits and ideal bite locations. Cultural transmission matters. Hunting techniques improve across generations. A striking ability is regurgitative altruism. Bats share blood with roost-mates who failed to feed. That social safety net prevents starvation and binds colonies with reciprocal dependency. The cost of failure is high. Starvation can follow a single bad night. Sharing blood is thus not sentimental, but evolutionary insurance. A brutal calculation written in social behavior. They navigate by memory and smell as much as sound. Routes to reliable herds are landmarks in the bat's mind, and colonies can return to the same feeding grounds generation after generation. Sometimes they hunt cooperatively. One bat distracts or probes while another feeds. These tactics reduce detection and show surprising behavioral flexibility for a species so specialized. Aggression between bats peaks over feeding priority. Dominant individuals access the best hosts, while subordinates wait for leftovers. Social rank influences survival rates in this cutthroat nightly economy. They time attacks to host sleep cycles. Deepest slumber is exploited. Fewer reflexes, suppressed pain perception. The bat turns physiology against its victim, striking when defenses are lowest. Vampire bats sometimes target wounds made by other predators, turning existing injuries into feeding sites. They are cleaners of a macabre sort, scavenging life from the margins of injury. The timing of visits can be methodical. A bat may return to the same herd night after night, visiting the same individual, if the bite heals slowly and remains productive. Their hearing and thermal senses allow attacks in total darkness. No moonlight needed. They map heat and echo the landscape, moving like shadows to the warm pulse beneath fur. They avoid blood loss that triggers alarm. If bleeding is too heavy, they withdraw. The bat's success depends on leaving hosts largely intact, a predator paradox. Kill less to feed more. Feeding can spread pathogens. Rabies is the most feared, transmitted through saliva. Disease risk ties the vampire's stealth to human worry and to measures aimed at controlling bat populations. Their nocturnal raids shape human folklore: fear, myth, superstition. But the living mechanism is biological, not supernatural. Physiology, not curse, explains their surgical night work. Every behavioral trait links back to the central skill: detecting warmth and drinking blood with surgical stealth. Anatomy and strategy converge into a single, relentless nightly practice. Vampire bat colonies are social networks. Roost-mates groom, huddle, and exchange food. Cooperation counters the risks of solitary failure in a lifestyle where one night of hunger can be fatal. Dominance hierarchies influence who feeds first. High-rank bats monopolize prime hosts and pass leftovers down the chain. Social status translates directly into caloric advantage and survival. Reciprocity is enforced by memory. Bats remember which individuals shared food and return the favor later. Broken promises can be punished with refusal, a cold calculus in the roost. Breeding males use scent and display to secure mates. Females balance mate choice with colony stability, because raising a pup while starving is a death sentence. Cooperation matters even in reproduction. Vampire bats may compete violently for roost space or food. Fights are brief but brutal, with bites and grappling that can leave individuals scarred or dead. Social life carries high stakes. They also interact with other predators indirectly. By feeding on wounded animals or following larger carnivores, they fit into a predatory tapestry where many species exploit the same vulnerabilities. Roost selection is social and strategic. Caves, hollow trees, and abandoned buildings offer shelter. Roosts concentrate bats, increasing disease risk but enabling sharing systems that prevent mass starvation. Their role as nocturnal parasites makes them both feared and useful. Parasitism pressures host populations and can shape herd behavior, causing animals to adapt sleeping patterns or choose different grazing sites. When humans encroach, conflicts escalate. Livestock losses and disease transmission provoke retaliation, roost destruction, poisoning, and culling. Social decisions by people reshape bat communities violently. Individual bats show social bonds, mothers and offspring, grooming pairs, and long-term alliances. These bonds are survival mechanisms, knitting the colony into a community that shares both risk and reward. Predation risk for bats themselves is real. Owls, larger mammals, and humans threaten them. Their social cohesion, shared vigilance, and mobbing reduces individual risk in an unforgiving night world. Some bats specialize on particular hosts, forming feeding traditions. These cultural niches limit competition and allow multiple bat species to coexist by dividing sleeping prey types across time and space. Host animals adapt too. Herd animals may develop defensive postures or thicker winter coats in response. Ecology becomes a conversation in which predator and prey rewrite each other's behaviors. In human history, bats shaped myth and medicine. People feared blood feeders while also harvesting their anticoagulants for research. The interaction is complex. Dread and scientific fascination coexist. Social life among vampire bats is not sentimental, it's pragmatic. Cooperation, memory, and enforcement mechanisms evolved because only coordinated colonies survive in the nightly calculus of risk. Reproduction is slow and risky. Females typically raise one pup a year, investing milk and protection while balancing the need to feed nightly. It's a high-cost reproductive strategy tied to stable colonies. Gestation lasts several months, and pups are born relatively mature. Yet mothers often endure hunger to nurse, using social networks to receive donated blood if they fail to feed after giving birth. juveniles learn hunting by observation and practice. They initially feed on milk, then follow adults, gradually mastering thermal detection and approach techniques in a dangerous apprenticeship. Parental investment is intense. Mothers carry pups while flying and wake to nurse them. This mobility-bound caregiving exposes both to predation, making breeding success precarious in disturbed habitats. Infant mortality can be high when food is scarce. A single failed season of blood meals can ripple through a colony, reducing pup survival and destabilizing social support systems. Mating systems vary. Some species form harems, others are more promiscuous. But reproductive success is always tied to social access and feeding success. Choices in mating echo survival needs. Infections and parasites challenge reproduction. Pathogens like rabies can decimate colonies and kill pups, turning maternal bonds into vectors for disease with tragic consequences for population health. Some pups are adopted by non-related females in times of need. Adoption is rare but possible, showing how social flexibility can rescue individuals and maintain colony continuity after losses. Longevity varies. Many live several years in the wild, longer in captivity. Each long-lived individual can pass on hunting knowledge, stabilizing cultural traditions that shape future generations' success. Reproduction ties back to the central puzzle. A species so specialized must balance feeding success, disease risk, and social support. The life cycle is fragile, honed under relentless nocturnal pressures. Ecologically, vampire bats are both parasite and regulator. By stressing hosts and transmitting disease, they influence herd dynamics and can indirectly curb overpopulation in some areas. They also recycle nutrients. Blood meals connect distant ecosystems. A bat that feeds on cattle then becomes prey or dies elsewhere, distributing energy through food webs in unexpected ways. Removing vampire bats can have unintended consequences. Culling roosts may reduce disease transmission temporarily, but also destabilize ecological balances and harm species that relied on their role. Their presence pressures hosts to adapt sleeping behavior and herd management. In agricultural settings, humans alter practices to protect livestock, shifting landscapes and animal routines as a consequence. Conservation is paradoxical. These bats transmit disease yet play ecological roles. Policies must balance public health with biodiversity, recognizing that every species occupies a knot in a fragile web. Population booms can occur when prey are plentiful. Too many blood feeders can magnify disease spread. Too few can allow the ecological niches they filled to be taken by other, sometimes worse, pests. They also inspire medical research. Anticoagulants like draculin inform blood-thinning drugs and wound care studies. Out of a predator's chemistry comes human medical insight, a dark benefactor of science. Human land use shapes bat distribution. Deforestation, livestock farming, and urban structures create new opportunities and risks, bringing blood feeders closer to people and magnifying conflict. In balanced ecosystems, vampire bats are a persistent yet controlled pressure. They contribute to predator-prey dynamics, disease ecology, and nutrient cycles in ways that are often overlooked because they are nocturnal and small. Understanding their role reframes fear as knowledge. They are brutal and efficient, yes, but also integral. Erasing them risks collateral harm to ecosystems already strained by human activity. we must confront our fear. Violence in nature is not moral failure, it's survival. Vampire bats operate by rules written in evolution, not malice. Our instincts recoil, but science asks for calm observation. Ethics intervene when human livelihoods are threatened. Culling seems simple, but it severs the social bonds that keep colonies resilient and can escalate disease risk rather than solve it. Better solutions blend medicine, husbandry, and habitat management. Vaccinate livestock, secure roosts, and reduce attractants. Science allows coexistence strategies that protect both people and bat populations. In answering how a night parasite heat hunts sleeping animals and drinks blood with surgical stealth, we've seen anatomy, behavior, and social systems converge into a single dark masterpiece of evolution. The vampire bat forces us to face uncomfortable truths: nature's brutality, human impact, and the thin line between fear and understanding. Watch closely, and you see survival, precise, cold, and strangely beautiful.